The reason that I tell my patients not to use lavender, I think he was a pediatrician, and he had two young prepubescent males come into his office unrelated, which prepubescent means no hormones going in their body yet. Both had excess breast tissue. The only thing that he could find that was common between the two boys is that they were both using over-the-counter like lotion every day that had lavender in it. And so that's being absorbed into your body. And so he was like, there must be something. What he did was he published his findings, and then a university picked it up like years later, and they looked at the molecular structure of lavender, and it literally sits right on top of estrogen receptors. And so for my patients who come in for fertility, excess estrogen is a problem.
Hold up real quick. Like, subscribe, comment below, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Geena the Latina Show. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Today's guest, I wanted to bring on because she is my personal acupuncturist, but she's also, I'm going to call you like the queen of fertility. Do you not take that?
I'll take it.
Okay, so it's Emily Marson. She owns Aphrodite Fertility Acupuncture in Hillcrest. And women go to you when they have, okay, we're going to get into this. A lot of fertility stuff, which is why I went. But you literally help women who can't get pregnant. Yeah. And if you Google her, and I've Googled you, the reviews are insane. Like, I couldn't get pregnant. I was on IVF. I was all this stuff. And then I go to Emily and I get pregnant like in a month, right? And we're not promising anything,
right.
You know, all this stuff. But so I was referred to her because if you watch past episodes, I've talked about my issues with fibroids and everything, and I finally got them out. And I wanted to make sure I stayed on the right track for fertility, because it's not like I was trying to get pregnant, but it was more just all the women's issue, right? Mm-hmm. And some people are like, you go to acupuncture for that? Like, what? Like, first of all, what is acupuncture? What is this? And how is that helping women get pregnant and helping your hormones and all this stuff? And I just love you, Emily. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So first of all, let's start with, because a lot of people like, what is acupuncture exactly? And we're, by the way, at the end, like in a little bit, we're going to actually go through acupuncture, and she's going to put needles in my body, and it's not as scary as you think.
Yeah.
So what is acupuncture?
All right. So how I like to start, I like to make it really relatable, because people think of acupuncture and they have no idea why needles help the body. Okay. So when you rub your hands together, it creates a heat, right? You can get behind that. Like when you run, you sweat.
Yeah.
So movement creates heat, right? We can get behind that. So your organs move, right? Your heart pumps and your liver filters and your lungs expand. And so there's this heat coming off of your organs that's not really accounted for in Western medicine. Okay.
Yeah.
And heat is energy, right? Like when you turn on the stovetop and there's fire, it boils water. So heat is energy, and heat comes from movement, and you have movement in your organs. And so every organ in Chinese medicine has heat coming off of its movement that flows in certain patterns in the body, just like your nerves and your blood vessels. And so the heat coming off of your heart flows down your arm and into your pinky. And those are the channels of acupuncture. So heat coming off of your heart is energy, and it flows in certain patterns. And so there's this sort of network of energy channels coming off of the movement of your organs that we as acupuncturists work off of. And so if let's say you have too much heat in your heart, so like too much emotion, right? Too much heat coming off of your heart, then there can be certain symptoms that present. And we will go along the channel of energy that's coming off of the heart and put in needles to help bring down that excess in heat. Yeah. You can also have stagnation of that energy, right?
And it's funny. Let me think. So yes, she actually puts in needles, and you'll see in certain areas, and you're like, what the heck? But you can feel it like, oh, that was a good one. Like you feel it like zing, but it's not like a pain, but it's more like you can literally feel the energy releasing in your body. And I know that sounds crazy, but you can feel it, right? And that was like a blocked area,
so that was like a stagnated energy block from a certain organ's energy not being in balance. Okay. And so what the needles do is just like a bee sting, where the body's like, what is this foreign material inserted into like past my skin?
Hold up, pause. We got to take a second to acknowledge our food sponsor, Cravings Fruit Bar. Miguel, Fidel, what's up? They're out in Santee. If you live here in San Diego, they got tons of stuff. They got fruit, chocolate covered strawberries. They got tortas. They got chamoy, everything. Follow them at Cravings Fruit with a K, at Cravings Fruit. All right, let's get back to the show.
It sends blood and lymph and histamine to the site of the foreign substance, which is the needle, to push through something that's blocked, bring down something that's in excess, bring down an inflammatory response, or build up something that is deficient, because you can have deficient energy coming off of organs.
So when we're talking about like women trying to get pregnant,
Yeah.
because you hear these stories all the time, you go to the doctor and they say nothing's wrong with you, but yet you're not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
How are these needles helping a woman get pregnant?
Yeah. Okay. So it's complex, but so the reproductive organs are not functioning correctly. Okay. And a lot of women who come in for fertility are generally cold, and they are literally cold over their abdomen, which means that the blood is not getting to the reproductive organs. And so what the needles do, again, sort of like a bee sting, is it sends blood. You literally put needles over the ovaries and uterus. And
Like you put needles in there. I know that sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
like recently, I had like some pain, and we think that polyp. No, a cyst broke.
burst. Yeah.
But I could feel it, like it was like she put it right there, and then it was like, whoosh.
Yeah.
But it was so good, like, and then I felt better after that. But anyways, keep
Yeah.
going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so there was like stagnated, probably swelling in your
Yeah.
case, and so the needle went in, and the body reacted, and it sent blood and energy there to push away the sort of stagnation or the swelling that was around because you had a cyst burst.
Yeah.
And so for fertility, it's all about the communication from the brain, which produces the hormones for fertility, getting to the ovaries and uterus. So it's like a long pathway. And if your blood is not flowing, if you have poor circulation, and that would be, you could sense that because you have a cold abdomen, because blood makes things warm, right?
Yeah.
Then what the needles do is they sort of like kick the body into sending blood there. And if you send blood there, then you're sending the hormones there. And then the tissues, the receptors on the tissues can function more optimally, which sort of Western medicine doesn't quite touch
And
on.
I'm glad you bring that up, because that's what I was going to say. So say a woman who's watching this can't get pregnant, been going to the doctor, if it's fine or whatever. Why is this not like, this is considered Eastern medicine? Because to me, this is not anything crazy. Like
Right.
I do it all the time. I live by it. I do it at least once a month.
Yeah.
Why is it like not talked about? And what is Chinese medicine? I guess exactly. Yeah.
I think so. When China was closed off from the world and then opened, they sort of wanted to take like the spirituality out of their medicine, and so they brought in sort of like the Western view of medical treatment, and sort of separated medicine from the spiritual aspect of acupuncture.
Yeah.
And so there's been like a drift apart of these two ways of looking at the body. They're both looking at the same body. They're just using different language
Yeah.
to describe what's going on. And when China came into the modern world, they tried to suppress this deep history of like acupuncture and Eastern medicine. And so the reason that it's not integrated is because there was a real attempt to bring themselves into like the Western medical system and like legitimize it in the Western view. But it's coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back. And that's why we're talking about it, because I think it's like, I've seen so many women struggle with fertility and have not even just fertility, like fibroids and cysts and just hormonal imbalances. And like, you don't, like, no one tells you like it's the food you eat, it's the stress, it's like all these other things that me and you talk about all the time. And then these needles like help release like what you're working on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad that Western medicine has really relied heavily on like what's the word, like introducing chemicals to fix the problem.
Yes.
Right? Instead of using the body's innate ability to fix itself. Now, like Western medicine is amazing.
Yes.
And
Yes,
if you break your leg, you're not going to an acupuncturist. Okay.
Yeah.
Like go to the hospital.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But there are a lot of places where Eastern medicine can really come into play in a great way are these chronic diseases that where Western medicine is like, here, take a pill for the rest of your life.
Yes.
That is an imbalance of the body. A lot of autoimmune, the body's attacking itself. This is where Eastern medicine really does well.
Yeah.
Okay. Where where Western medicine is like, we don't know. Here's a chemical compound. You can't get off of it ever. This is where Eastern medicine's like, well, actually, let's get the organs functioning correctly again and intertwine this whole body system and what you eat and how you think and your emotional health. These all play into the symptoms that are popping up in your
Yes,
life.
absolutely.
And Eastern medicine really does a great job at like the whole body picture.
Yeah, and for me, and if you haven't listened to the episode about fibroids, go back and listen to that. But so after I got that, I believe in Western and Eastern medicine, right? A surgeon got the fibroids out. I still believe I could have probably, like, had I known everything earlier and they hadn't grown as big, I could have probably like reversed it or just maintained them, right? But he got them out. But I just wanted to make sure they don't grow back because they don't tell you. They say like, oh, we don't know where they come from or it's nothing. But as I was doing more research, no, it's the food you put into your body. It's the stress. It's all the past traumas. It's all this shit that's making these fibroids grow. And I'm like, oh, hell. And that's when I came to you because you're just one part of my full regimen. So we're not saying like, acupuncture is going to cure everything, right? But if you want to, there are more options than just what you're told by the quote unquote Western medicine like these. And for me, so I'm going to explain and we're going to show this in a second. But so when I go into Emily, I always say I come back out feeling like high, like so high, right? In the best way possible. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just so relaxed. And I'll go in there and she'll be like, the first thing is like, what's going on? How have you been? How have your periods been? How have been this? And I tell her, and then she literally, every time I go, she has something new. Like she puts like cups or she'll do this and she does that. And then I am just so relaxed. Pause. It's Geena the Latina. Okay, so what you need to do right now, if you're liking the content, is you need to like, subscribe, and comment because we want to keep this show going. We need to like mess with the algorithm a little bit. So if you like this show, help us out a little bit and make sure you follow us at TikTok and Instagram at the Geena the Latina Show. Okay, let's get back to it. And then I leave just feeling better, and it's not to say like we've been working on this pain in my shoulder that I know has to do with stress and it's not like it goes away. Like it goes away that day, but then it like comes back because it's like anything. You have to work on yourself. And so I've heard people go to acupuncturist one time and then just be like, oh, it didn't do anything. It's not like a pill. You're literally trying to stop having to take pain pills. So it's not like something that happens overnight, I guess. I mean, you do feel better right away, but it's like, can you explain that, like how Eastern medicine works? So a lot of people I feel like give up on it or don't try because it takes longer because you're doing it healthy and you're doing it natural, right?
Yeah. So there are a couple things there. The first is that when people come in and they say, well, I tried acupuncture, it didn't work for me. It's like maybe you didn't go to the right acupuncturist that clicked for you and your body and your body's energy. It's like if you go to a dentist you don't stop going to the dentist. You like find another dentist.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people if they've tried once they didn't like it. The second thing is what you immediately get from acupuncture is a complete nervous system downregulation. Okay, so we are all in the modern world stuck on stress, and we are meant to have stress. Everyone is meant to have stress. It's a defense mechanism, right? Like if you see a bear, like you need to go into fight or flight, and your cortisol levels rise. What's supposed to happen is that you come down. Okay, so you're supposed to have cortisol spikes and then come down. And we live in a world where it's go and go and go and go, and energetically you're just bombarded by the bear all day, and you're just stuck in cortisol. So what people feel immediately when they get acupuncture.
That's a high feeling I'm talking about?
Yeah, your nervous system is coming offline, okay?
Yeah.
Your cortisol levels are coming down. There's a lot of Western medical studies on how it regulates the nervous system pretty immediately, and they can see it under MRI.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not like energy. It's like they're understanding that the nervous system comes down.
Yeah.
And so what you're feeling is how you are supposed to be
Feeling all the time.
when you're not in fight or flight.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, which is like very unusual.
Yeah,
in
unusual.
this
Because
time.
we're so used to like go, right? And then there are very few times. Only when I leave there, I feel like high, and I'm not high. But we feel like that's like not normal,
Right.
But that's how we should always be operating.
Yeah. In a world where like you don't always have to produce all the time, and you don't have to do all the jobs of everyone as a woman, then you're supposed to feel calm more often than you feel stressed.
Yeah.
But the immediate benefit of acupuncture, that's the first thing that happens, is the nervous system just goes right down. Actually, so a lot of people sleep during acupuncture because finally they're able to like just knock out.
No, I always say that you should just rent out rooms and come do this, and we can get free naps here. Like, I know that's crazy, but it's like it's uninterrupted. You just feel,
And so I had a patient who has an aura ring, those rings that like track your sleep and like your deep REM sleep or whatever. And so she went into a really deep sleep one time in acupuncture, and so she looked at her app, and her sleep was like the deepest it was. Like, she never gets that deep in her nighttime sleep.
Yeah.
So like that's the nervous system saying, okay, I'm safe. I don't have to run and fight and be tense. I can literally just shut down. It's like a reset.
Yeah. So who would you suggest, like what kind of person is acupuncture good for? Kind of like, who would you say? I mean, I would say everybody, but like specifically if you're dealing with, so you're a specific fertility acupuncture, right? But there's a bunch of different acupuncture. You have them even within your Aphrodite Fertility.
Yeah. So a lot of people use it for pain.
For pain?
Yeah.
Like chronic pain.
Chronic pain or injury.
Like my boyfriend went because he's had a back problem for a long time.
Exactly. And pain is like really easy to treat in acupuncture. It's very immediate. And it doesn't take a really highly skilled acupuncturist. Like really anyone coming out of school can treat pain.
Yeah.
And then again, sort of like all these chronic things. So emotional anxiety is really easy to treat because again,
who knew that acupuncture can help anxiety?
Yeah.
It really
mental
can.
health. Yeah. Because that's all about the nervous system.
Yeah.
And coming down in like a tense state, coming off of a tense state.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want this up? Yeah. Excuse me. Oh, so these chronic diseases, stomach issues, right? That Western medicine's like, well, we don't
like
know.
the stuff that you don't know. Like I've had so many people be like, oh, I've just, I haven't been able to sleep, or headaches.
Yeah.
I'm always tired. Like that kind of shit is the kind that you need to, okay, let's start looking somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a big proponent of like, I'm not like shitting on Western medicine or whatever, but like there's more to what, like, cause we grew up like just thinking like the doctor knows everything and whatever they say, but they're human too. Like they know their scope. There is more out there. And that's why I wanted to talk about something like acupuncture, because I know the benefits that it's helped me in my life,
Yeah. And the other thing is like, Western medicine has become very specialized. And so you may go to a doctor and they're just so like focused on their specialty that they forget to look at the whole body.
Yes.
And so, what I think acupuncturists do really well is they say, hey, hold on. Like, I know you're having this symptom, but let's look at what else is going on and bring it all together.
Yeah.
So while the specialists, I mean, they're highly educated people and they're needed.
Yeah.
But there also needs to be like perspective and
yes.
context,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Because like you could be like, or like you have fibroids, but also like you've had trauma.
Yes.
And trauma is absolutely something that pulls the body and the tissues of the body into stress. And that's where the tissues of the uterus ball up, right? When you're in stress from trauma, when you're in fight or flight, everyone gets like stress and their shoulders get tense. Well, that's what's actually happening in the uterus because you're stuck in fight or flight and the tissue gets balled up.
So believe it or not, the reason why you may not be able to get pregnant right now, or you're having trouble getting pregnant, could be something that happened in your childhood. Could be something that happened with your parents, generational trauma. I mean, we can go all that, right?
So
and what
much.
acupuncture does is it releases or helps, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like multifaceted, but like the first thing, down regulation of the nervous system. Let's just like get the body to relax and breathe.
Yeah.
Right. And then let's get blood flowing again. And then let's have your hormones be able to actually communicate with the tissues that are meant to receive. So there's a lot.
Can we talk a little bit about hormones and hormone imbalance? Because she is our forever helping balance hormones.
Yeah.
Like, especially in women, like a lot of stuff we go through is because of our hormones.
Yeah.
Right? And like they're up and down all month. Sometimes, like for me, I have too much estrogen in my body, you know? And so can we go into a little bit of that and how acupuncture relates to that?
Yeah. So there's a real sort of epidemic of excess estrogen in our environment. Okay. So whether it be plastics or fragrance, even lavender.
Lavender has a lot of estrogen in it. And
Yeah.
I know that. And I was told that. And like, so I can't have any lavender in the products. Like I'm I use the app. What is it?
Think Dirty.
Think Dirty.
Yeah, it's a good app.
For any products I put on my body, like my face, my lotion. It's hard. Like, that's a whole nother thing. So I wish to do a whole subject on this, but one time I was like, I'm going to clean out everything from the cleaning products to the whatever. And then it was just too much.
Yeah.
So I started slowly with like the deodorant, because the deodorant, you're putting them exactly. And if you're not on a natural deodorant, you need to be, you know, from like the shampoos and the conditioner. And so now it's been about 6 years and I like look around, I'm like, damn, like not that imperfect, but a lot, like everything in this house is we're getting there. We're getting there,
and
right?
that's all you can do. You know, like just make progress towards less exposure.
Yes.
And it's not just women.
Men.
You know, like semen parameters have all gone down over the semen parameters. So like sperm count.
Sperm count. Yeah, a lot of men, their sperm count is way lower
because of the exposure to the toxicants in our environment. Like as plastics and industrialization has come up, like semen parameters have gone down.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like a well-studied thing.
And and that can be why like you're quote unquote not getting pregnant because of this. I always say that, like, have your man tested for his sperm too, because I've had so many friends go through IVF and do the insemination and no one thinks to test the guy's sperm, and then they go to like whatever the third day is and then it doesn't reach. And like my friend went through like 10 of her eggs until the doctor finally said, someone said to test the guy. And that was his problem. Like not his problem, but like no one thought to, because we brought that it's always like the girl's fault. And I'm not saying it's a guy's fault either, but there's a lot of things, like it's not how it was back in the day. Like there's toxic shit everywhere now.
Yeah. That there's a lot to that, but you know, it's like it's usually 40% of fertility issues come from male factor. 40% come from female factor, and the rest are both. Okay. And it's not just like a semen analysis. Okay. So a couple comes in and they're like, oh, well, the man says like, my semen analysis was perfect. And I'm like, well, that's how your semen look. But what really matters is the chromosomes inside of the cell. Okay. So you could have like a perfect sample and you're like, well, it's not me. I don't have to clean up my lifestyle. It's, you know, my wife's eggs are old. But actually the amount of alcohol you drink, marijuana, for sure.
Marijuana has so much estrogen. I had to stop taking edibles because of that. I didn't realize all that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Obviously, everyone sort of knows smoking, like tobacco. But these, and also the exposure of toxicants in your environment, this can affect the chromosomes inside of the sperm. So you could have a perfect semen sample, but you could still be contributing to your infertility.
Yeah. And so it's not just black and white. I think
It's
that's
not.
the point. Like
Yeah.
you can go, like I've even gone and got my blood test and it was fine. But then I went to like a ND, which is a natural doctor who did a more extensive blood test and did my hormones. And that's where all the problems. But if I went to, and I just saw the basic, you know? And so with fertility, it's you got to look at both of them. And even though it's fine, you still got to like, all that matters, the emotional, the food you eat, what you're putting in your body. And I know it can seem overwhelming because I was overwhelmed, but like I said, I started with the deodorant, you know, I use native deodorant.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I just kept, okay, and I'm not fully, I haven't found a good hair dye. I don't know if you have a good hair dye.
Hair's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I am constantly like,
Yeah.
I will not put a product on my body, from body wash to shampoo, like our hand wash, all of that now has all been changed.
That's
but
awesome.
it wasn't overnight.
Yeah.
It was one thing at a time, because I tried to change overnight, and let me tell you, that shit's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. It's expensive.
Like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And then I was like, you know, like, but I don't use any of those scented lotions, any of that
Fragrance
stuff.
is really bad.
People don't realize all that. I don't put any perfume on my body because perfume is like the worst, and cologne. I don't know if you guys know. I mean,
So basically what it does, basically those products get into our body, and then because they mimic estrogen, they sit on estrogen receptors, which are the things that receive estrogen on the tissue. And so it fools the body into thinking it needs to produce more estrogen.
yes.
And so then you have this estrogen excess. And estrogen is proliferative. And what that means is that it likes to double cells. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why a lot of reproductive pathologies come from environmental factors, because you're making excess tissue
Yes.
that shouldn't be there, like fibroids.
Yep.
Okay?
Fibroids.
And so fibroids are really susceptible to excess estrogen, and there's so much estrogen
Everything.
hanging out in our environment.
So I was talking to one of my naturopaths. I go to all these different doctors, and which, by the way, if you go follow us at the Geena the Latina Show, I posted something that have all my different doctors. You're on there
Cool.
too.
Great.
But I was, she has me on a heavy metal detox that I do at least twice a year. And I was like, well, is it something I'm doing? She's like, it's literally in the air you're walking in. Like, everyone should be doing a heavy metal detox at least twice a year. It's almost like you have to be on it all the time, just because it's like, it's our environment. I'm not saying this to scare you guys, but I'm just to like, a lot of your issues could be coming from that. You don't know. So we do the best we can. Right.
Yeah.
So when I say the heavy metal detox, it's like some drops in my water that I do for 30 days at a time. Right. And I do parasite cleanses because there's parasites in our body. I mean, I could go on like all these things. And luckily I've been able to like learn about over the years. Right. So I don't want to overwhelm you if you're listening or watching, but like, I do want to educate, because I didn't know about any of this stuff, and I started slowly, right?
And also remember, right, to not get overwhelmed, that it's an accumulation of these things, okay, over time. So if you pull out a little bit at a time, you're decreasing, okay,
Yes, you're
and
decreasing.
that's the point. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, I can't do this because I can't live.
It's too much, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's the accumulation of these factors that can play a role in your body and your wellness.
Yeah.
So just slowly sort of peel back.
And look into
And
it.
be aware.
The app Think Dirty is a great app. Like, you should see me like at Costco where we go. If my boyfriend's like, oh, should we buy? Like, I will literally put everything in there. Any product we're putting on your skin, I will put it on there. And if it doesn't have mostly green on there, if you download that, we see what I'm talking
It's a
about.
3,
We're not buying it. We're not buying. If it has any red, we're not buying it.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And then the most minimal ingredients as possible is the best, but it's as long as it's green, like that's the best you can do, right?
Exactly.
So that's a simple thing you could do think about anything you put on your body, like lotions. I haven't been able to find a good dry shampoo that I love that works.
Honestly, hair
products is hard.
Someone needs to get into that market because there's such an opening.
There is.
There's.
You know what? That's a good one, because I've been looking for a
There
good
you
dry
go.
shampoo and a good hair dye. But like makeup, you know,
there's a lot of good
there's a
clean
lot of
makeup
clean
brands
makeup
now.
brands.
All right, hold up. This is like your 20-second Geena the Latina PSA. I need you to like, comment, subscribe below, because we want to keep this show going. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please do us a favor and like, comment, subscribe below, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Geena the Latina Show. That's the Geena the Latina Show. I don't know why I can't talk. Back to the show.
But a story about the skin.
Yeah.
A lot of people hear, go non-toxic, and they're like, well, that's so trendy. Like, that's not real.
Yeah.
But the reason that I tell my patients not to use lavender, let's go into that story.
Yeah, lavender, by the way.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there was, I think he was a pediatrician, and he had 2 young prepubescent males come into his office unrelated, which prepubescent means no hormones going in their body yet. And they both had excess breast tissue. And he was like, what is going on here? And the only thing that he could find that was common between the 2 boys is that they were both using over-the-counter like lotion every day that had lavender in it. And so that's being absorbed into your body. And so he was like, there must be something with lavender and estrogen. So I think what he did was he published his findings in a journal.
Yeah.
Just sort of like, this is what's happening. And then a university picked it up like years later, and they looked at the the molecular structure of lavender, and it literally sits right on top of estrogen receptors. Mm-hmm. And so for my patients who come in for fertility, excess estrogen is a problem. And so I tell them to not use anything that you're putting again, like on your skin daily. Like if you walk by a lavender bush, so it's okay. Okay. You don't have to like cross the street because you see a lavender bush. Okay. Yeah. But if you're diffusing it every day, you're putting it on your pillow,
and
it's
it's in so much stuff.
It's not a well-known thing in even the wellness community.
I know.
And so like a lot of these like non-toxic products have lavender in them.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to be aware of.
So it's funny because my normal doctor, who I love, by the way, who's great, like never told me any of that. I went to an ND, and ND still went to medical school. They're still practicing. Like, they just focus on natural stuff as much as they can. She's the one who told me, like, when they found out that I had an estrogen like excess, that lavender. And yeah, sure enough, I had lavender lotion. I had lavender, all this stuff. I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck? And then like marijuana, I didn't realize how much marijuana, like estrogen is in marijuana. And so if you're a male or a female smoking a lot of marijuana, your estrogen levels, if you actually are probably like, which affects your ovaries, which affects your sperm. Like I've learned so much about this, right? Again, don't want to overwhelm you, but let's like cut back a little bit. But after that, I was done because I was like, when you're pushed to the point where you're like, I was like bleeding and just doing, I'm like, fuck it. I'm not doing any of that. I stopped like cold turkey. Like that's it, but it's good. Like, back to acupuncture though, like acupuncture is another like one of those things to help your body in a quote unquote non-traditional way. But I love that it's like coming to life and that it's not so like taboo and weird anymore.
Especially in fertility, because now they are doing research studies. So medical doctors are more interested in using things that have like a scientific what's the word, like reasoning, like rationale behind it.
Yeah.
So for fertility in IVF, probably half of my patients are in the middle of their IVF journey and have come to me as an adjunct to their treatment to help them produce more viable embryos. And the reason that it's in their head to come is because there have been well-designed studies that say that acupuncture can increase IVF success rates by 65%. That's a huge amount. And so the Western doctors, the fertility doctors, who have to publish their success rates, they're like, well, we don't know how this works, but if it can improve our publishing rates, let's have everyone go to acupuncture. Right? We don't know how it works, but
it's doing
something. We know that it helps us and our results. So go ahead. And so, especially in my specialty, it's really nice to work integratively with these fertility doctors who are open because they've seen these statistical results. Yeah. Like if there weren't these Western published
facts.
Facts. Then I don't think that they would be as open because they don't know how it works, which totally is fine, right? They're not educated in it.
That's what I would say. I'm like, I don't know, but I know it works. I will say that. I know. Before we get into you demonstrating the acupuncture, I don't know if we're going to do it on me or somebody else here and one of the crew members so that I could ask you questions. I did wanted to get into, we were talking a little bit off camera earlier about we were talking about the female and male energy and how that shows up in your body and how acupuncture can actually like help balance that. But let's take it really basic. Okay. What are people like that have no clue? What do you mean female, male energy and how that affects your hormones and all that stuff?
Okay. So everyone really knows the yin and yang
Yeah. Okay.
symbol. Yeah, we call it yin and yang. Okay. So I'm going to speak like that. But it's
Why do we call it yang then? If it's
I don't know. I think it was just westernized at
okay,
some
so
point.
we call it yin,
So
and
it's wrong.
yang.
That's
but
wrong.
but that's wrong. What is it called?
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's not yin and yang, guys. It's yin and yang. Got it. Okay, yin and yang, aka yang. You guys know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that describes really everything in life. So yang can describe anything that has energy and force and strength, and it's heat and it rises. Okay. And yin describes anything that is sort of soft and substance and blood and fluid. And so you can equate male and female to those things, right? So yang is very male.
So
and it's
yang is male.
Male, it's very forward. It is hot. Things that are have a lot of outward energy. Okay, that is very masculine. And then yin is very feminine. Okay, soft and nurturing, supple and substance. That is yin. Okay, and so everything in your body is either yang or yin. Okay, blood is yin. Heat and energy is yang. And so in the body, these two things, the symbol, right? It's like balanced out, are constantly trying to equilibrize.
Yeah.
Create an equilibrium, I should
in
say.
guys and
in
girls.
males and females.
Because people associate with the yin, which is the female, right?
Yeah.
Yin with only female,
Yeah.
like women and men, but that's not, no, both bodies have both. And they both need to be balanced, which is why guys need a little bit more feminine sometimes, and girl, and that why, look at how unbalanced we are. To me, it's no brainer why we have so many hormonal problems, right?
right. It is human to be balancing those at all times. Okay. And what we sort of were talking about off camera is that there's a real, in masculinity, there's a real rejection of femininity within yourself.
Yes.
Okay. But to have both femininity and masculinity within you is to have balance.
Yes.
And so this sort of repression of the yin can hurt you and hurt everyone around you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see a movement sort of like embrace the femininity in you, because it can't be suppressed, or else it will come out in too much yang, and yang is heat and energy out. And what is that? Anger.
Yeah.
And that's why you see males who suppress their emotions and suppress their femininity and their yin come out as very angry and hot-headed.
Yeah.
It's repression.
And let me tell you, that's best case scenario. It can also come out in cancer, tumors.
Totally.
All this other physical stuff that people do not realize, hey, I need to balance this out. So that was an example for men, but also women, we can have too much of the feminine or the male too, right?
Yep. So yin is substance, but it's also swelling, and it's like too much substance, so tumor, and
I had too much estrogen, and that's what made the tumors grow.
And estrogen is very yin.
Yeah.
And so in everyone, you should try to be balancing or nurturing both. your yin and your yang, your masculine and your feminine, and you will be more centered and have less symptoms.
Yeah. I feel so smart today. Educated. So real quickly before we get to the demonstration, which I know people are anxious about, everyone's like, you put needles in your body. I'm like, it's really not that crazy. Wait, do you want to show some of the stuff you have?
Sure.
So explain what all this stuff is, because she does all this stuff. She does fire. Are you gonna do fire today? Yeah. Okay, she'll do fire. The demo's really cool.
So these are the needles. People think that they are people who are scared of needles are scared of the needles that have space to put fluid into you, right? Like when you go to the doctor. They're so much bigger than the acupuncture needles. You can barely feel an acupuncture needle. I don't know how close up you can get on this, but you probably can't even see this needle from how far the camera is.
Can you see it?
Yeah, probably not.
But we'll see it when we do it.
Yeah, you'll see it. Anyway, it's about the width of a hair, and most people don't feel anything. Maybe they feel a little like tap. Yeah.
But to me, that's like, oh, that's when I knew I hit a good one. Like,
Yeah.
let really such it. Let it
Yeah,
go.
you'll feel like a good point will feel like a deep achy, like oh yeah, give me more of that.
Yeah.
That's chi, that's energy going to that point.
Okay.
And so we put maybe I would say between like 6 and 16 needles in everyone, depending on the symptoms that you're having and how you present. We look at your tongue, and that gives us sort of the state of the tissue in your body.
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone's tongue is different,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll tell us.
Your tongue says a lot about you.
It does.
That's how you can tell if someone's what they're eating, if they're on drugs, what they're drinking. Like your tongue says a lot about
it. It gives us a lot of diagnostic information, and then we choose points based off of that and what we've talked about and the symptoms that you're having.
Yeah.
And I put them along the channels, and then I let you rest for about 40 minutes. And then I come back in, I take them out. We usually do cupping, which is.
I always have cup marks, but the cupping, she was like fire in it or something.
Yeah, these are the glass cups. Traditional cupping is glass.
And what is cupping? Because some people ask me, I'm like, I don't know, but that's just like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's when when you see those people with the marks.
Yeah,
they're usually yogis and like into spiritual stuff because they have cupping. But I think anyone could do cupping.
Totally.
So
big in athletes too, like the
athletes
Olympians.
Cupping,
You've seen. I'm
Geena
sure everyone
does cupping all the time.
Yeah. So what we do basically is we put fire into the cup and we place it on your skin. It creates a vacuum. Okay, so it pulls the skin up away from the fascial layer. So you have like 3 layers of tissue in your body. You have the skin layer. You have the fascia, which connects all. It sort of wraps your organs. So when in chicken, like a chicken breast, if you have to like cut into it, there's a little bit of tension.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the skin, right? Like a chicken breast that doesn't have skin. To get through the knife, that's fascia. So we have that wrapped around all of our organs and muscles. And so what the cups do is they pull the skin layer away from the fascial layer. And a lot of times where pain lies is in the adhesions between the fascial layer and the skin layer. And so what the cups do is they break apart those adhesions. So it's intense when it's on, because it's like a major hickey. Okay,
yeah,
like
it is a major hickey.
It is literally pulling the skin away from.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, but I think it's fine. Like to me, it feels good.
Yeah, most people think it.
Oh, my mom freaked out the first time. She was like, "What are you doing to yourself? Oh my god!" I'm all, they go away, mom.
Because it looks weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks more intense than it is. But I slide them up and down the skin, which breaks up the adhesions, moves any swelling, old blood that's been trapped there. And then you pop them off. And it's really when they come off that you're like, whoa, I feel good.
Yeah.
It's like, if you like deep tissue massage, you'll like
That's what
cupping.
it is. But you don't have to do cupping with acupuncture.
You don't have to, no.
It's up to you. And I do want to say this. So I've been to acupuncturists, back to before we get to the demonstration right now. I've been to acupuncturists back in the past and I felt nothing. And maybe it was me at the time. Maybe like I just not nothing. I didn't have the same experience. So then I kind of gave up on acupuncture. Yeah. But my chiropractor, he referred me to you. Yeah. When he knew I was going with all like, it's funny how the universe brings you people because he believes in all this stuff too, Like, and so when I went to you, it was a completely different experience.
Amazing.
So back to your point of like, finding the right acupuncture is like finding the right therapist, finding the right hairstylist, find the right, like people think like one and done. No, like find the person that works for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where can people find you if they want to?
Yeah. So we're Aphrodite Acupuncture.
Did I say that wrong? I said Aphrodite earlier.
No,
Aphrodite.
Aphrodite, like the goddess.
Oh, okay. Aphrodite.
Yeah, Aphrodite. And you can find us at Aphrodite Fertility at all of our social handles.
Okay, Aphrodite Fertility. And then if you live in San Diego, it's in Hillcrest.
In Hillcrest, yeah.
It's the most relaxing space ever, let me tell you.
I do love to make a good space.
Yeah, I really wanted to real quick, I know this has nothing to do with just fun fact about Emily. She was a plus size model.
It was, yes.
Traveled all over the world. I mean, like, and then now you're acupuncturist.
Yes.
Like, how did
it's so random, but I was in finance after school. I hurt my leg. I went to an acupuncturist. I was like, what is this? Yeah. Why is this person like listening to me? Like, I was so used to doctors not hearing
like,
me.
You're like a number, right?
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm heading to California. I'm going to go to acupuncture school. And then during school, I was like, I got to make some money. And so I'm 5'10". I was like a size 14. And I'm like, Well,
Which,
let
by
me
the
try
way,
this.
I don't like the whole plus size, but when you grew up, that's what it was called, a plus
I know,
size
and it was
mom.
right at the beginning of plus size. Plus size had really changed, which is
Yeah.
amazing to see, and like the acceptance in the mainstream.
Yeah.
But it was just starting, which was great for me. And so I went and had like my first casting at Forever 21, and they like didn't have anyone else, so they just like used me. But it like took off, and I traveled around the world. I did for 10 years, and what it helped me in my practice now is the importance of like branding
Yeah.
and learning social media, and also it exposed me to a lot of different people too. And it's these really nice intimate conversations for an hour when someone's like doing your hair and makeup.
Yeah, right.
And so I got to meet a lot of really beautiful, like wonderful humans, and I look back on that time really fondly.
No more modeling for you.
No, after like I had my kids, and I just don't want to be away from my family.
Yeah. So
I'm done.
now
And also I love
I
love
it.
acupuncture.
I love going to acupuncture.
Yeah, I have the best job. Honestly, I have the best job. There's nothing better than having a patient come in who has been struggling with infertility, like kind of alone.
Yeah.
Because it's still sort of taboo. People don't even tell their best friends that
I
they're.
know. It's like a shameful thing. It's not a shameful
It's
thing.
not. It's
and
not.
we have another episode all on this with a different guest, but it's women shouldn't feel like don't freaking ask people if they're going to have kids or whatever. That's like, don't.
Yeah.
B, like, it's not a shameful thing. There's so many people that struggle with this for whatever reason, and it's like you're not alone.
Yeah. Yes. And so like what I love to provide is not only treatment and guidance on what to do, but also like someone to talk to, a friend.
Yeah.
And there's so much benefit in feeling safe in talking about something that you're deeply struggling with.
Yeah.
With someone. So.
And you do, like, when you go in there, it's like a minute, like, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, well, okay, well, this week, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
It
well,
all
let me see where I
matters,
can
right?
Put these needles at for
it
you.
matters.
Yeah.
And so, I have the best job. So I love it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Wait, let's get to the demo.
Let's do it.
Okay.